All I can tell y'all is that it's about to go down.
Yo. All right.
Welcome to Southeastern, Minnesota's #1 podcast for high school sports. This is Tiger Nation and Beyond with your host, straight out of Stewartville, Adam Peterson.
Hey, what's up, Tiger Nation, and welcome into Tiger Nation and Beyond. This is season number 5, episode number 23, and we are courtside with the man in charge of the boys basketball team. Last year, in his first year at the helm, 20 wins for our boys team. Holy cow, how lucky are we to have this guy? How you doing, Coach Parker Lyga?
Oh, yeah, I'm excited to be here. I appreciate you having me. I'm glad we kind of finally got this figured out and found a time that works for the both of us, and I'm excited.
Yeah, what a first year you had. 20 wins, 14-2 in the HVL. I believe conference champs, right?
Yep, we ended up being co-conference champs with Lake City by the end of it. We dropped that last one to Caston Manorville, and so that was our second loss, and we beat Lake City twice, and that was the only time they lost last year. So we ended up being co-champs, but it was a heck of a season for sure.
Yeah, you know, you came in, I believe you were our JV coach, and then took over for Coach Adam Gertman. We had some outstanding seniors that left the program due to graduation, you know, guys like Bodie Mayer and Miles Hedinger. I believe Alex Larson, if I'm not mistaken, was last year. What can you say about that kind of senior class and them graduating in your first year, and maybe some things that you learned that you didn't know before taking over a varsity program?
Yeah, no, for sure. Their leadership was the big piece with them. And their size. I mean, when you go across the board there with those senior guys, I mean, you go Hedinger at 6'8", you go Bodie Mayer at 6'5", you go Eli Clevetter at 6'3".
Oh, that's right.
You got the workhorse Alex Larson running around who plays like he's 6'5". And then we got Mateo as well, who's just a grinder, and he was a huge player in practice for us. So kind of the holes that they left were leadership for sure. And now these young guys really have to step up and insert themselves into those roles. We got a great group of kids this year. And I mean, those seniors kind of paved the way. They just from the start of the season, when they saw the rankings come out for the conference, we were ranked 4th coming into it. And they kind of took that personally, and they wanted to prove everyone wrong. And they set the table kind of for this year's team as well.
Yeah, so when you talk about your first year as varsity head coach, was there anything that surprised you in what it's like to be the guy in charge, not only of a team, but essentially the entire program and the direction? I know it usually takes a few years to kind of get it the way that you want it, but anything in that first year that was a steep learning curve for you? Yeah,
definitely the time aspect.
Okay.
I felt really bad for my wife right away. I was spending a lot of time away from her, kind of getting stuff ready. And it's kind of a no break thing. So I mean, you got fall ball, we got workouts going on with just some parent volunteers that come in and do it. You got the summer where we're constantly going, we're playing, 15, 20 games in the summer. But it's also just kind of getting to know the kids and having them understand your expectations. And coming from me, it was kind of nice that I was in the program before, coaching under Adam. I kind of used some similar things that he did, but at the same time, I added my own twist to things. So the relationships were kind of already built, which was the best part. Just being the JV coach, always being around those guys and stepping right into it. But they just kind of had to adapt to kind of my style of play. I'm more of a defensive guy, defensive-minded guy, whereas, you think about Gertman's teams, which he did a phenomenal job. They were definitely offensive based. When they're scoring 80 some points a game, we like to score about 70 is kind of 65, 70, and then hold them to 50 is kind of what we pride ourselves in. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just a change in scenery for your basketball career in terms of going from JV to varsity, new job, huh? BCI now. Is that what I hear?
Yeah, it's awesome. I loved Hayfield. I love my time. I have nothing negative to say about Hayfield. But the opportunity arose where I got to be closer to home. My wife and I bought a house in town here, and it's kind of nice not having to drive 20, 25 minutes there and 25 minutes home. And school's awesome. The people at Bear Cave are awesome. They're awesome. And then you add, I mean, the people, the higher ups too. I mean, Jeff Johnson is as good as they come.
Yeah, great guy. Great guy. I was looking at the roster that you have at Bear Cave. Now it contains Lyga, May, Liffrig, Schmitz. Like if you guys took on any other school, I don't know if you would lose a pickup basketball game. Is there anybody else I'm missing that could be on your pickup basketball team? Because that's a pretty stellar roster there at BCI.
Yeah, I mean, Stratton might get down in the post there and kind of show him a couple wrestling moves and get in there. And then we got Scott Spencer there posting him up.
Oh,
too.
That's right. Spencer's there. God. That's awesome. Yeah, you guys have an outstanding crew there. BCI really just a great culture over there. This year, about halfway, just about halfway through, I'm looking in the screen to look for gray hairs because out of your 7 wins, 4 of those were by 6 points or less. We are 7-3, 3-2 in the HVL conference. 4 wins by 6 points or less. Talk about winning close games in the heat of it. You guys pulling it out. Incredible. What can you say about like the first 10 games of the season before we get to breaking down the roster?
Yeah, and I mean it's kind of a transition period. I mean, last year kind of no one really expected much out of us. And now we're in that situation where we got ranked high at the start of the season. And don't get me wrong, I don't really care about rankings. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, at the end of the day, but we knew we were going to get everyone's best shot. Mm-hmm. And kind of to go along with those close games, I mean, we're kind of executing down the stretch in the last couple of minutes, but we've also given up. I mean, we think about Rochester Century, we think about Plainview Village and Millville, 2 of those games that were close ones. We're up 15, 18 points in both those games with 6-8 minutes left. And then we kind of go through some stretches where we're not as focused or our shot selection isn't as good. And then it turns into a bigger game than it needs to be. And kind of what we've been emphasizing lately is just finishing games. I mean, we had a tough one against Zambroda, a much improved Zambroda Mazeppa team. I mean, they are extremely well coached. They change things up on you and they crash boards hard. I mean, right now I'm pretty fortunate that we're pretty healthy. We just have 1 injury. But the kids are starting to buy in more to kind of the offense that we're doing. We're getting more of the looks we want. And to start the season, we were knocking down the shots we need to knock down. I mean, if you looked at our first 5 games, we shot 17% from 3-point range. And I mean, our last 5 games, we're probably shooting around 35 to 40%, which is kind of where we'd like to be. So.
Yeah, you got to take me back to what I would say is probably one of the most incredible second half comebacks that I've seen in quite some time. You know what I'm talking about, the Casson Manorville game. I don't know what adjustments or what you said to them at halftime, but that was the most exciting, second half of a game that I've seen in a really long time. Can you tell me about that game and the way your boys bounced back to bring home a W? It was at home, but to keep the win at home. Tell me about what did you make an adjustment? Was it just waking them up or golly?
Yeah,
I'd love to be in that locker room.
I mean, we kind of tested them at halftime, and we were pretty upset, and the kids were pretty upset. I mean, if you look at that first half, we shot, I think it ended up being like 20% in the first half. I think
couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat, right?
100%. And it was. The problem was we were having open looks. Like we were having great looks. It wasn't forced shots. It wasn't turnovers. Like I think we went into half at having 5 turnovers. I mean, that's a pretty good first half. And I mean, when your shots aren't falling, they start falling. And we came in with the kind of perspective that, hey, we could get on these guys and scream and yell at them and kind of tell them, hey, we're playing like this. But it wasn't that. We kind of walked in, we stayed calm as a coaching staff, and we kind of said, well, what things do we do well? Well, we like to pressure teams and we like to kind of mix up our defenses. And so we kind of went into our 1-3-1 defense, and that kind of gave Casson fits. And that ended up creating a lot of turnovers. And then after that, the energy just kind of took over. I wouldn't say that our shot selection changed. I'd say that our kind of pressure defense really created a lot of easy transition points, and just getting that speed of the game compared to them sitting in a 3-2 zone and slowing us down. It was, we're up in your face and we're going to make things happen and we're going to make you play fast. And I think in the first half, we kind of went away from that because they broke our press a couple times when we were going our jump press. But then we mixed in that yellow, just a little zone, and it stumped them. I mean, next time I know they're going to be ready for it. So it'll be a little different, but hopefully we can knock down some shots. So it was an awesome comeback. And I mean, I think we were down 19 points at one point, and the boys just battled. I mean, we didn't hit a lot of free throws down the stretch, but we hit the ones that mattered. And I mean, we completely dominated in overtime.
Oh yeah, it was an outstanding game to watch. And then it went on to the Rotary Classic, the Holiday Classic, 2 closer games, Century and remind me the second one.
Plainview.
That's right. PM. Tell me about that experience. The final holiday tournament Rotary Classic that we'll have here in Rochester. Can you talk to me about those 2 games and what the experience is like at Mayo Civic Center?
Yeah, it's an awesome experience. We're hoping to get back there, obviously, come playoff time.
Right.
It's awesome. I mean, the big stage, the boys, they didn't shy away from it. And playing Century, playing a bigger school, kind of a little rivalry thing, trying to get them back from last year when they beat us on a buzzer beater.
Yeah.
And then,
do you know who hit that shot? God.
Yeah, he wears number 23 for us.
Right. Make him run extra.
Exactly. And it was awesome. And it was a tough situation for him to be in. And I never want a kid to be in that position. That I was pretty disappointed with that. But at the same time, the kids knew the expectations. Unfortunately, Caleb ended up spraining his ankle at practice the day before, and he's sat out since. But the boys really stepped up. Kind of Jansen had a really big coming out party that game, and he since then has been executing at a very high level. But that experience, the facilities there are awesome. I mean, how they put it on and how they kind of get the information out to people, they do a really good job, and it's kind of sad to see it go. But at the same time, I understand. So
yeah, absolutely. What an experience for your boys. And then coming into the new year, the last game that you guys played, 1-point game, but zippy. I mean, incredible. Caleb Jansen with an incredible game, 21 points for him, 1 point. Like I said, how are your nerves? Because I know how nervous I get watching these games. I have zero control over it. There you are. Do you feel like you ever get used to those close games? Because, for me, you look at it like, gosh, if I call, I don't want to say a wrong play, but like, do you feel that pressure or?
At times, definitely,
Yeah.
and especially when things aren't going well, it's kind of playing in your head, like, hey, what could we do? What am I doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? Like, what types of things? And don't get me wrong, I think I'm getting gray hairs for sure. These guys they're keeping me into it, but at the same time, we're executing down the stretch, which is kind of what matters. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've given up some leads. But in that last 2 minutes, the guys are focused, they're dialed in. And I mean, you look at our season last year, I mean, we lost 7 of our 8 games, or 6 of our 8 games were by less than 5 points.
Jeez.
And so these guys are starting to mature and they're starting to understand how to finish games rather than playing passive. I mean, we still got to be aggressive. We still got to get to the rack. And because when we get passive, that's when we're getting turnovers. We're making silly mistakes, and we're a fast team. We need to play fast. And that's kind of what we're trying to get the kids to understand is you can play fast, but you can slow it down and execute based on what they're giving you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love you. That's one of the things I really enjoy watching your team is that defensive philosophy of being able to switch defenses and give the offense a different look and kind of keep them off balance. It's just been so fun to watch through these first 10 games of the season. When we look at this roster, Just such an even balance. I know that the juniors are that junior class. We talked about it last year and how they have an exciting class, but you got 4 seniors this year, which you like that mix. Some senior leadership, people with, that got that veteran mentality. You got a great group of juniors and then some sophomores coming up. Let's start with the seniors. The first one I have here is number 2, Brady Pickett. Again, I think we talked about him last year on our preseason preview. Speed, athleticism. We've seen him on the soccer field. It looks like he's been put out there in some defensive situations. What can you tell me about number 2, Brady Pickett, senior?
Yeah, well, I was at the start of this year or start of the season. We were pretty nervous. He was really debating not playing, and we finally kind of talked him into it. We kind of gave him his space and let him think about it. And he ended up coming out, which was awesome for us. He is definitely a defensive guy, but he's really upped his offensive game too. The nice thing about Brady is he understands his role, and he understands what he needs to do. He's not a guy that needs to score a bunch of points. He's a guy that's going to get a lot of transition points, and he just needs to limit his turnovers, and his minutes are going to stay consistent. He understands that, and he is an energizer bunny. I mean, great kid. He's great to have around.
That's awesome. And that's what you need is that good culture, somebody that fulfills their role. You don't want people looking at the scoreboard and seeing how many points they got. Just fulfill your role, do what's best for the team. Next guy I have here, number 10, Ian Hoot, another senior 6-foot wing player. What can you tell me about Ian?
Yeah, Ian's he's a great player. I mean, he's kind of in the same role as Brady, and it makes it a little tougher for him to get minutes because Brady and him are such similar players that it's tough to have 2 defensive guys in the court when we can play defense at a pretty high level. But at the same time, he's our practice everything. I mean, he's the guy that we make be the other team's best player. He's the guy that we put on our guys to shadow and show what kind of pressure they're going to get. He's a great guy at the end of the game. You probably see me sub him in at the end of the game quite a bit because he plays defense. So if we're in an offense-defensive role, that's where he usually comes in. And like I said, his biggest thing for us right now that he's doing is that practice time. It's the thing that people don't see right now because he is making us so much better day in and day out. And he comes in with a great attitude, and he bounces stuff off us. I mean, he's kind of a coach on the floor. He facilitates it, and he really helps those younger guys that we pull up. So
that's what I love doing about these particular podcasts is getting the look behind the curtain, because you talked about how important those players are. Coach Muller talks about it a lot with his scout team. Same thing with basketball in terms of getting prepared for the opposite team, pushing your better players to, iron sharpens iron, pushing those players, Cheddar and those guys, the pressure, ball handling. Like, you get that in practice. When you get in a game, it's going to be second nature to you. You got 2 more seniors here, high character guy. You love the Riggin family. Evan Riggin, I imagine, brings a lot of that positivity to your team as well.
Yeah, he's a big energy guy and a big practice guy for us. I mean, he is the definition of a teammate. Day in and day out, he is the guy that brings the energy in practice. I always try and tell him to keep energy all the time, and sometimes the guys get lazy with it, but Evan's not. I mean, Evan's always clapping, high-fiving, making sure people are doing what they need to do. He's his biggest critic. If he does something wrong, he knows it, and he's really hard on himself, so we got to kind of tell him, hey, it's okay. Like, the next one, don't worry about it. But he's a great guy to have around, just like you said, personality. I mean, the guy's awesome. His family's awesome, and he's a great player for us.
Yeah, your last senior, somebody that's seen the court quite a bit, got good court vision, great passer. Max Barnes, 6'4" forward. The girls basketball program I saw stole his older brother away for coaching, but Max still contributing to the boys team. What can you tell me about your 4th and final senior, Max Barnes?
Yeah, Max he put in a lot of work this summer for us, and he's been lifting a ton, and he knows his role. He understands it. It kind of rotates on a game-by-game basis. He understands his strengths. He knows weaknesses. And to be honest, he knows the game probably better than almost anyone on our team. He can draw up X's and O's. When we do our kind of scrimmaging stuff in practice, and I kind of let the kids take it, we do situational stuff. he's always the guy talking. He knows what he wants. He knows what he sees. For us right now, he's been a great shooter. He's been bodying in the post right now. Max gets a lot more minutes when we go more zone compared to man, because he understands what we're doing and he knows where he needs to be. Yeah. And like you said, his court vision is second to none. I mean, the kid can facilitate, and at that size, I mean, that's a great skill to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially up at the top. He can feed it in if he wants. That's the 4 seniors. Talk about a talented junior class, not just on the basketball court, pretty much anywhere you put these guys. When you start hearing these names, big football guys, we got a couple golfers, just incredible athletes. The first one we got to start out with, Henry Cheddar, which, by the way, we were just watching Will's first half. We got it on pause now. So Michigan, Iowa is going on right now. So we'll get back to that. But Henry, middle brother, Hank the Tank, he's been up since his freshman year. He got pulled up late in his freshman season, got to play with Will those final few games. And then last year kind of started developing into his own. And this year you kind of see his comfort level handling the ball just keep elevating. What do you think about old Hank the Tank?
Yeah, Hank's been playing well for us. He's been a pretty consistent scorer, which is kind of an expectation of ours. He's doing a better job facilitating with the ball. We're really working on kind of those end of game situations. We've been working him a lot more off the ball too, because he has kind of a unique skill set where he has the mismatch in the post, because his post game is incredible. I mean, to be a point guard with his post game, Casey and Garth have done a great job with him, just kind of working on that. Yeah. But he's been kind of a good leader for us, and he's becoming more and more level-headed, where he's not having those young mistakes where it's like, shoot, it's like, why did I do that? It's okay, like this happened, I'm going to move on, get to the next thing, and we're going to keep going from there. So yeah, he's really, really maturing.
That's so important for the point guard, is you can't have these highs and lows. You're essentially with like Nolan Steer, you're the floor general out there. You're running the show. Can't have you too high, can't have you too low. So is that something that you focused on, kind of tutoring him?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, he's adapted extremely well. He likes playing off the ball too, which is something that we've been really working on him with. I mean, we got plenty of guys that can handle the basketball this year, which is a good thing. I mean, we've been working in Parker Wong and Aiden Helder at the point as well, and Brady's getting a little time there. But yeah, Henry's starting to take that leadership role and understand it, and he knows that people feed off his energy and kind of what he does. So if he's making mistakes and he's down, I mean, the rest of the team's going to be down. Yeah. And I think he's starting to understand that. And I mean, he's a great player, and we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, absolutely. Another guy that I think has grown leaps and bounds, not in terms of size. Yeah, he's 6'3", but we saw him in AAU circuit, I believe this summer, put up some serious points, and he's doing it during the season. Tegan Malone, boy, he can shoot the ball. He's athletic. I saw him even make, I'm trying to think if it was the Cassie Manorville game, where he'll even sacrifice his body, kind of tipped it back, I believe, to Wangen. But that's the type of stuff we need, not just the scoring, but, delivering for your team, diving, sacrificing yourself. Tell me about Malone. And I don't mean your assistant coach.
I'll keep him out of my mouth for now.
Yeah, right.
But Tegan, he's awesome. I mean, he is the type of guy that will run through a brick wall. I mean, that guy led our team with deflections last year, and how we base our defense is deflections turn to steals. I mean, the more deflections we get, the more steals we're going to get. And this year he does the same thing. I mean, he's so long and athletic that he can get tips on passes. I mean, we primarily use him right now as like a shooting role and a defensive role, but we kind of challenged him this summer that, hey, like Tegan, if you want to play college basketball, which I know is a goal of his, you really have to develop another part of your game. And so this summer when he was putting up those big numbers, it wasn't just his shooting stroke, which is probably one of the best in Southeast Minnesota. It was him penetrating, getting to the rack, and using that pull-up game and kind of keeping guys on their toes. And he doesn't want to be known as just a shooter, which, I mean, he's a great one. And like this year, he's still trying to figure it out. He has his games where you watch him. I mean, the Plainview game knocks down 3 in a row. I mean, the Faribault game to start the year hit 6 threes. He goes in waves, and right now we're trying to find that point where, hey, Tegan, like if your shot's not falling, we got to get you to the rack. And he's really starting to understand that now. I mean, last game, I think he was against Zimbrota. I think he had 5 layups on just shot fakes and drives. And he's developing into a really good player for us.
Yeah. Talking about developing into a good player, you talked about the Rotary tournament and his coming out party, but that the Zimbrota Mazeppa game, Caleb Jansen. Wow. We know him as an incredible linebacker that takes people's heads off. Also and a great golfer, great golfer. I guess he's pretty darn good at basketball too, it looks like.
Yeah, he's a tank. I always tell him he's pretty small. And he kind of takes offense to that.
6'4", 230 or whatever he is. I don't know.
But it's kind of been a work in progress, because if you look at Caleb coming up and playing in 9th grade and JV last year, Caleb had a lot of tendencies to go around the 3-point line. And don't get me wrong, Caleb is a great shooter, but with what our team needs, we need someone to bang down low. And he's kind of stepped into that role a lot lately with Caleb Bancroft's absence. Kind of he was our big body, kind of body up guy. But now Jansen's been, executing at a high level. He understands what we're doing. If you look at the start of the year, look at his minutes. He was getting maybe 6 to 12 minutes a game. And I remember one game where he played a minute. And then, he's just working hard in practice, and he's just trying to prove himself. Obviously, I think everyone knows that basketball is not his number one, but he's really good at it, and he plays a role for us that we really need. He's kind of the bruiser in there, and versus Zimbrota, he ended up having to play a different role than he's probably going to play the rest of the season, and that was to be a scorer. He did not miss a shot from the floor. He hit every single free throw down the stretch, and ended up having 3 threes as well. So he's coming around quite a bit, and he's him and Tegan are kind of the team jokesters. So they always give everybody a good laugh here and there.
Yeah. I thought Owen Sickink was joking when he said Jansen didn't miss a shot. He was serious.
I believe he was 7 for 7 from the floor, and
That's
then
incredible.
4 of 4 from the free throw line, and they were all crunch time free throws. Like this was all last, I think, 4 minutes of the game. He was 4 for 4 from the line.
Well, if you're listening, Caleb, you're 6'4", 230 or whatever. You get down there by the block and get us some rebounds too. Don't be hanging out at the 3-point line. Although if you're going to hit that many shots, hard to argue with that. Another guy, we knew he could score. I think he put up like 30 some against, was it like Red Wing or something last year? But his Cassie Manderville game, the second half, I call him the sniper mainly because he loves to hunt, but also because he can shoot the ball from outside. Jason Schindler, a 6'3" junior. Can you tell me about my sniper?
Yeah, he is a sniper for us, and you think about him and Malone on the floor at once. That's a dangerous duo. He's really starting to develop and kind of fill into his own. He's a tall, lanky kid. Offensively, he can do whatever, and the reason he's been earning more and more playing time for us is his ability to rebound. He's dominating rebounds right now, and he's crashing hard, and he's doing kind of those little things for us. We know the kid can shoot, but what people don't see in the stat sheet is this kid getting 4 or 5 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
And he's really working on his defense. He's understanding the schemes that we're putting in place, and he's playing a bigger and bigger role. And against teams that play zone, he's a great option to have out there.
Zone buster.
Exactly, because he can hit from anywhere. He can hit logo. And he lets it fly, and that's kind of what we need. That's what we want from him and expect from him. And last game, it was kind of unfortunate against Zimbrota. He got 3 fouls in the first half. We put him back out there, and he ended up picking a quick third. And typically we don't do that, but we had 4 guys with 2 fouls in the first half, and it was kind of hard not to have him out there. And so it kind of got him out of a rhythm, but he's been coming around, and like you said, it's peaks and valleys. He goes and has a really good game, and then he has not so good game, but during those not so good games, they look bad, but that's from a shooting perspective, but then he's doing all the dirty work on the side. So for me as a coach, that's awesome to see, because we got guys that can score at every position. So, his role is, he understands it, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah, you talked about that rebounding, and last time I saw him, I said, "You want to know?" Like he hit some big shots in that Castle Mandeville game, but the one where that really opened my eyes, like, "Whoa, whoa, what was that?" Was the first basket in overtime. If you remember, it was a shot from outside. Jason was on the, if you're looking at the court, the far left baseline. He came charging in. There were like 3 or 4 guys standing there waiting for the rebound. He skies over the top of him, grabs it, and then puts it back. And I was like, that's the difference between Jason Schindler as a sophomore and as a junior. Essentially, rebounding sometimes just comes down to who wants it more.
Yep, and like you said, like as a sophomore, like Jason wouldn't be one to mix it up. And now this
Right.
year, he's understanding more and more that, I mean, that's what earns him minutes. I mean, yeah, you can shoot with the best of them, but you're earning minutes because you're crashing boards, and that's what you're doing for us. I mean, you're helping us out in other places besides the scoring column.
Yeah, speaking of guys that are outstanding, Aiden Helder, outstanding quarterback for our football team. He's had some solid games last year as a sophomore, and he's back for his junior year. Pretty much can fill whatever role you need from him. He can handle the ball. I've seen him, running baseline on zones. What can you tell me about Helder and his athleticism and his versatility for you?
Yeah, he's a heck of an athlete, and he is such a smart player when it comes to basketball. I mean, just sports in general. He knows he has a very high IQ. What Aiden does really well that doesn't go in any of the scoring columns, which he's been struggling a little bit with scoring this year. But he does the little things for us. He's the guy that's taking charges. I mean, I think he's averaging almost 2 charges a game.
Jeez.
He's leaving it. He's laying his body out on the line. And if you walk into a gym, you're going to know where Aiden is. He is our best communicator on both ends of the floor. You see him play that point, and like you said, you see him play in the zone because he just finds openings. He makes good cuts and stuff, and our goal for him is just take care of the ball a little better. He tries to make those flashy passes every once in a while. But when he's at his best, he's getting downhill and he's mixing it up with those guys. And when Aiden's getting downhill, it's tough to stop him because he can finish just as good with his left as he can with his right. And like I said, he's huge for our defense because he does those small things. He constantly talks. He's always in position for help, and he takes those charges. And he's kind of like our Energizer Bunny there, where he gets knocked down, he gets right back up, he gets the people going, and gives them what they want. So
Last junior that we have here, Blake Turner, 6'3", forward. Blake Turner, I'm imagining, is pushing guys in practice too, just like we talked about Ian Hoot.
yeah, Blake put in a lot of work this summer. It was his first summer at AAU basketball. He really wanted to challenge himself. He talked to me about doing it, and I said I think that would be a great idea. He ended up having a pretty good summer, and he's filling out. He's really filling out. He's got some really broad shoulders. He's kind of got that farm strength, just from being back home. Yep. And he's a big practice guy for us. I mean, he bodies up and he challenges these guys. That kid's got a extremely high motor, and he's always motivating the guys to do better and better. I mean, him and Reagan are always the first guys up all the time. I mean, they want the success of the team, and they bring it in practice. I mean, Blake's been getting better and better with his footwork, which is something we worked on him with, and just like understanding, like, you can slow down. It doesn't have to be quick. And then just understanding his size and his ability to create mismatches. And I think he's going to play a lot bigger role next year. But right now he's getting better and better every day in practice going against these guys. And he's really going to fill that role next year.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for, getting better and better. And that rounds out our juniors. We have some outstanding sophomores. Parker Lyga has just blown me away. I know he's been on varsity since 8th, 9th grade, and he was solid. But, watching him this season, there's something different about him. I know he's athletic. I know he can jump out of the floor. His defense, his footwork is incredible. But just something about it. It's like he turned it up a notch. Can you tell me about Lyga on the court?
Yeah, I mean, last year as a freshman, he started every single game for us, and he guarded the other team's best player, and that's what we expect from him this year. I know a lot of people would wish that we would give him a break here and there, but he is literally such a good defender, and he just knows, like, he understands. He watches film, and he understands what the other player is going to do. If he knows his matchup, he is going to study it, and he is going to understand it to a high level so he can execute when it comes to game nights. And this year he added on top of it that, I mean, he's getting that 8 to 11 shots a game right now. And he's producing at a high level where he's averaging, I think, 10 to 12 points right now. And if you think about that, like the guy's playing 30 some minutes, he's guarding the other team's best player and using all of his effort there. And then he's also producing 10 to 12 points on the offensive end. He's kind of a do-it-all kind of guy. He's a great guy, great team guy. I think of the Zimbrota game, and I know I keep going back to that with a lot of guys, but it told me a lot about our team. Wongan scores 3 points, but he shut down their best player their best player ended up with 16, but he scored 9 of them against our zone. So he shut him down for 7 points, and that's the conference leading score. Yeah. And it's just impressive. He comes with a great attitude every day to practice. And like you said, you can jump out of the gym.
Yeah, right. You know, something about Wong, and we talked about never be too high, never be too low. I swear that kid could win the lottery and no matter what, he's always the same facial expression. I don't know.
Yeah, he is. Does
he ever get amped up for you? Does he ever flex or something?
He's gotten a lot more outgoing. I'll give him that. Don't get me wrong, his words are far and in between at times, but he is becoming a lot more vocal, which is what we expect from him. And he kind of wanted to step into that point guard role here and there. And that's kind of what we challenged him with this year. And like, hey, we know you can handle the ball. We know you're a great basketball player, but you got to be vocal. Like, I can't have a point guard that doesn't talk.
Right.
It could be like a lead by example thing, but kind of with how we play our defense and offense, you have to be vocal to be a point guard. And so he's been doing a great job with it, and I'm really expecting big things out of him.
Yeah, he's been fantastic to watch. A new face here to Tiger Nation. We alluded to him earlier with the Century game. I know he's been battling an injury, but a lot of buzz surrounding this kid because he's 6'6", great size. He had a great year for Century last year as a freshman, now a sophomore here in Stewartville, Caleb Bancroft. I don't know much about him other than he broke my heart last year at the Rotary tournament. What's the scouting report on him for us? Don't tell the opposing coaches, but give us an inside scoop on what's the deal with Bancroft and what's he bring to the team?
Yeah, he definitely brings that physicality and size. And what Caleb's really been working on is his shot, and he really wants to be a 3-level scorer, and I think that we're going to see that the rest of the season. I mean, he can shoot it from outside. He can kill you in the post. He can take you off the dribble. He's extremely athletic, and he is a huge energy guy. I mean, you think of a new kid coming into a program, typically they might be a little shy or scared or whatever, but he came in, I mean, June 3rd was when we opened up the gym, if I remember right, this summer. And he was one of the first ones in there, clapping, high energy guy. I mean, he's been out the last 5 games, and he is the loudest, most vocal guy on the bench. He is yelling, screaming. I hate to see him hopping around on the bench because I want him to heal that ankle, but he is always jumping up and down on the bench. But he does bring that physicality for us. He is extremely physical. That's the style of play he loves. He plays a lot of AAU basketball in the summer, and he's just a great kid. He's adapting really well to the area and just the guys around him, and he's understanding not only what I expect from him, but we're kind of changing some habits that he came in with, and just to make him fit more in our program. And he's doing an excellent job with it.
Oh, it's great that he's open to that. And the last 3 guys I have on here for sophomores, I'm guessing that they're just getting that little taste of varsity experience, and eventually will contribute later on in terms of their junior and senior year. Jace Klug, Jacob Anderson, and Logan Quam rounds out the roster that I printed out. Those guys working with you in practice and stuff then?
Yeah, usually we have them in for at least like a practice or 2 a week is kind of what we try to do. Have them compete with us. They've gotten a few minutes game time here and there. They do the scrimmages with us and everything. But we're kind of grooming them to be ready to go next year. We're losing 4 seniors. Right there's 3 guys moving up, and we have some other JV guys that are chomping at the bit to get it. And I mean, some of those other JV guys are performing at a high level, and they're really challenging these guys. And what these guys do is, I mean, they came in right away when I had them first practice with the varsity, and they kind of came in shy. They wouldn't shoot the ball. They they got nervous, and it was just
Mhm.
like we kind of had to sit them down and tell them like, you guys got to be aggressive. Like if you guys aren't aggressive, like we can't have you up here. And
Yeah.
they've accepted that challenge, and they bring it. They love getting in guys' faces, and I tell them to be a little chippy and I mean foul the crap out of us
Yeah.
because it's going to improve us in the long run, and
Right.
hopefully it doesn't create too many bad habits for them. But it's making our varsity better as a whole, and our guys love competing against them. And I mean they do all the fun stuff that we do. I mean they go to the cabin in the summer. We're going to go curling as a team. This year again is kind of going to be our annual thing,
Mhm.
and there's great guys and great kids to have around. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't have any negative things to say about them. They're great teammates. They're hyping up the bench. They're into it, and that's what's fun about it.
You talk about the cabin. You talked about the curling expedition. I know they went Christmas caroling. You guys all went together to watch Will at the barn. Can you talk to me about how that stuff helps kind of bring these teams together and how you want to do that as the man in charge?
I really think that chemistry is formed off the court. I mean, you can have chemistry on the court all you want, and you could be a good basketball team on the court, but off the court is kind of where it matters to me. I
Hmm.
mean, don't get me wrong, I love having great basketball players, but I love having great people better.
Yeah.
And we want to create an environment where these kids love showing up to. They know that we get to do these fun things, and they know they get to hang out with their friends, and um it's just cool experiences for them. We try to do things that they don't usually do, like the curling. Like
Hmm.
last year we went and I told them all to stretch beforehand, and I think maybe two of them did, and they were all sore as heck the next day.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
but some of them picked it up really quick, and but just the chemistry piece. I mean,
Hmm.
working together. I mean, all these guys on a given weekend, we'll get done with the game and they'll go hang out. They'll go in a hot tub. They'll go do whatever. They'll go play video games, play guitar,
Yeah.
and as a coach, that's just fun to see. Like
Yeah.
guys aren't being left out. Like they're including everybody. They want to do things together, and they're on me too. Like if I don't have something planned for them and they want something, they're telling me like, hey, we should do this. We should do
Yeah.
this. And it's like, I wish I had money coming out of my butt, but I
Yeah, right.
don't.
Yeah. And a wife that needs you around
Oh, for sure.
sometime. That that like rounds out the roster coming up in terms of the next few games, at least the rest of January. You got the 17th at Cannon Falls, back to back, because then it looks like the 18th against Pine Island at home. I have January 24th home game against the Byron Bears, and then January 26th against Lake City. A few games to look forward to is trying to get some retribution for some of those losses. Lake City and Goodhue are kind of on that horizon. But what are you looking forward to kind of the second half of the season going into playoffs? I know we talked about just getting better a little bit each and kind of working together. What's your thoughts on going into the second half here as we're, almost halfway through January?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, our conference is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people understand that this isn't the same old, like you got 3, 4 good teams and the rest of them are very good. We got a conference that's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Pine Island's kind of rebuilding a little.
Mm-hmm.
Still very talented, but they're very young. And I mean, the rest of them, you look at it, Lourdes just beat Byron. I mean, Cannon Falls beat Zumbrota, and it's kind of just a domino effect. Like this team beats this team, this team beats this team. But kind of what I'm looking forward to is just competing at a high level. I kind of went out and Kurt and I scheduled a huge non-conference schedule. We aren't playing too many small schools at all. We're playing a lot of 3 and 4A schools out of the cities. We got Columbia Heights this Saturday actually for a showcase game.
That's right. I forgot that.
It's that's going to be a big one. They're a very, very good and very competitive team, and kind of how we looked at it last year is we didn't play the toughest non-conference schedule, and we didn't feel like we were completely prepared going into the playoffs. And this year, I didn't want that to be the case. I didn't want that to be an excuse. We're going to be battle tested before we get there. And I mean, you look at Lake City, like they're the number 1 team in 2A. I can't wait to have them again because I guarantee you we're not going to start off 16-0 again.
Right.
They're a really good team, but I think we're going to give them a better game. Goodhue, I mean, they're a very good team. They play their system extremely well. In that game, we didn't shoot very well. They shoot 66%. it's tough to win a game when they play that style of basketball and shoot 66%.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for the second half of the year because it's going to kind of tell me, I mean, who's ready to go and where we're at. Like right away, I don't think anyone looked at us and they were like, these guys are going to go 2-3 to start the year. If you would have told me that, I would have called you a liar. But I think a lot of people counted us out after that, and now we're starting to play at the level that we need to play at. And I'm hoping. Obviously, I don't want to peak now. I'd rather peak at the end of February, start of March, and build from there. But I think we're in a great spot, and these guys are hungry to get after it.
Yeah, you got such a solid crew to work with. A nice blend of talent and athleticism. Guys with great character, work hard, good teammates. Can't say enough good things about this boys basketball team. And you in your second year, I mean, 20 wins in your first season, and now you're 7-3 and on your way to another outstanding season. Are you having fun? Is the big question.
I am loving it. It's a
lot of work, it's a lot of time, but yeah.
For sure. But in the end, it all pays for itself. I mean, working with these kids, it's such a great group. I mean, last year, great group of kids. This year, another great group of kids. And I mean, the program just keeps feeding them. SYBA does an awesome job with them. SYAA getting them out there. And I mean, we really encourage these guys to play multiple sports and do multiple things. We're not in a big enough town where we can specialize in just one thing. I mean, we need to create athletes that are going to be successful in multiple things. And I mean, you look at up and down our varsity roster, we got every single player playing multiple sports. I mean, it's
good at them too.
Exactly. And it's fun. It's fun to go watch those guys compete in a different sport too, and support them and on the football field or in track, in golf, in baseball. It's fun. And I really enjoy them. So they bring a lot of joy to me, and I know my wife isn't always the most happy with all the time I spend, but she is super supportive, and I appreciate her a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I learned with Crystal taking over the varsity softball program is how much gets put on the spouse and, taking care of things. I had to learn how to do laundry and everything. So I don't want to be on her, do not disturb list or do not like list. So I should probably let Coach Lyga go, let him give her some attention the rest of the night. Can't thank you enough, though, for stopping on the podcast halfway through the season and kind of giving us an inside look to your boys basketball program. It's been fun.
No, I really appreciate you taking the time, Adam, and let's look forward to doing another one in February.
I would love that. Yeah, you just mark it on the calendar. You got my number. You can always reach out to me. But we want to thank head coach Parker Lyga for coming on Tiger Nation and Beyond, giving us an inside look at the boys basketball program. They are 7-3. They got some big games coming up the rest of January. Please get out and support them. If you can make it to the gym, get that atmosphere rocking. I mean, nothing better than a home crowd advantage. And we got a couple of those coming up. Pine Island on the 18th, Byron the 24th. I know that's a little bit of a rivalry there. And then Lake City's a big one. If you can get to that game, January 26th, that's going to be two of the best teams in the state. So go out, support Coach Lyga's. What are they made shirts for you too. Do you still have some? Mine's around here somewhere. Jad gave me one.
Yep, I still got it upstairs. It doesn't come out too much.
I bet
sometimes
not.
I'll wear it under some stuff, but it resurfaces every once in a while.
That's awesome. So that's going to do it here. Episode number 23 in season number 5 for Tiger Nation and Beyond is in the books. It was Courtside with head coach Parker Lyga of our boys basketball team. Thanks so much, Tiger Nation, for tuning in. And as always, remember, you're never wrong to do the right thing. Take care, Tiger Nation.